Hello, I'm James Bruce at MakeUseOf.com, and today we are taking a look at the Brydge Plus keyboard. Now, the Brydge began as a Kickstarter and went on to enormous success. It's easy to see why. It solves a productivity problem that all iPad owners have experienced. For years, detractors have cried out that the iPad is only for consumption, and honestly, they're right. Beyond short emails, it's difficult to be truly productive or type anything at length on the iPad. The Brydge Plus we're reviewing today is currently available for $99 with a built-in speaker, but there's also a speakerless model for $89 and a plastic model for $79. Now, there are also less expensive alternatives, such as the snug flip stand keyboard case for $50 or the Kensington Key Folio for $70, but neither of these is suitable for use on your lap, which is a pretty common situation when you're traveling. The Brydge keyboard is made from a single block of anodized aluminium with signature Apple black keys. The rounded speaker grill is a little bit ugly, but otherwise it's a gorgeous bit of kit that matches your iPad perfectly. To use the Brydge, simply slide your iPad into the rubber socks and it'll be held securely in there. By default, it comes with rubber inserts for the iPad 3rd and 4th gen, but it won't work with an iPad Air. And if you're using it with an iPad 2, you'll need to change the rubber pads for the other set, which are supplied in the package. Although it's not recommended to hold it just by the keyboard, the friction just between the rubber and the iPad is quite strong and it won't slip out under normal use. It's actually quite hard to pull out once you've got it in, but you can do it. So it's quite secure in there. On the side, you'll find the normal on-off switch and a micro USB charging socket. Initial pairing is done by holding down Control K and then typing in the pin shown on your iPad, and it worked flawlessly for me. Now, the hinges are really strong and will fix the iPad in any position you put it, from upright, closed a little, to completely flat. Although a neoprene case is provided for transport, the iPad itself is otherwise naked when it's placed into the Brydge case, as you can see. So I wouldn't really recommend it for general use around the home or with kids. It's bound to get damaged or scratched up like this. For a professional environment only, or if you travel a lot just by yourself, it's perfect. The keys themselves are raised about as much as a standard Mac keyboard, but slightly stiffer and slightly smaller and more closely spaced. After a little practice, they do feel great to use, but in prolonged use, my fingers did start to ache a little. Overall, they certainly do make typing on the iPad significantly faster though, so if you're just responding to emails and typing a lot in short bursts, you're going to really appreciate this. In fact, it's really difficult now after a week or so to switch back to the on-screen keyboard. It just feels wrong. My only minor complaint is that the shift key on the right here is so small that I found myself jumping up a line instead when I'm trying to capitalize something. As with all Bluetooth keyboards, and depending on your local interference, you occasionally get repeated characters. Battery life with just the keyboard active is apparently months. Suffice to say, I have yet to charge it, but if you're using the speakers at full blast, it'll likely last only a few days. There's a couple of nice function keys along the top here, many of which you'll be familiar with if you're a Mac user. Brightness, volume, media controls, etc. On the far left, there's also a home key, which you can double tap to bring out the multitasker. In the middle, you'll find this globe icon, which is a quick input method switch, though I'd rather it launched a browser. It feels a bit weird. Even though I have 4 different input methods on my iPad, I can imagine that would be useless for most people. There's also a search button, which doesn't work because the search screen was altered in iOS 7 and now can't be accessed from a keyboard shortcut. And there's a photo slideshow button, which also no longer works because the photo frame function was removed from the lock screen. It would have been nice to see this written on the product site somewhere or in the FAQ. As it is, I had to email the support team to confirm why these didn't work, to confirm my suspicions. Also, a limitation of iOS is that the only way to task switch is to open up this screen and use touch gestures. You can't use Command Tab or even the arrow keys on here. Now the Brydge comes with a built-in speaker, but it's kind of terrible actually. Have a listen through both the standard iPad speaker and the Brydge Plus speaker to see the difference. So I wanted to give you a quick idea of what the speakers sound like that are built into the Brydge Plus keyboard, because frankly I'm not that impressed. Let me play it first through your standard iPad speakers. Okay, now we're going to switch over to Brydge Plus. So you hold down Control B till you hear that sound, and then they're connected. They just sound really tinny. It's a little bit louder through the keyboard, but they do sound quite tinny that way. We'll switch back just so you can see again. There's definitely a lot more bass when you play it through the actual iPad. It's a lot more of a rounder sound. Maybe bass is the wrong word, but it sounds better to me. But each to their own. So, should you buy the Brydge Plus keyboard? I'm actually going to recommend you get the standard model, the one without the speaker, and save $10. I don't think it offers anything more than what's already built into your iPad. If anything, it sounds worse. The keyboard though, the keyboard is an absolute solid addition to any iPad 2, 3 or 4 owners, and essential for anyone who types a lot and has been looking to travel light. You may finally be able to replace your laptop with an iPad and only carry one device. Typing on the Brydge feels great, and it's difficult to go back to an on-screen keyboard once you've got the taste of freedom. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the full review at makeuseof.com, where you can also enter to win your own Brydge Plus keyboard.